The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber had never been silent before. It was a place of endless noise, arguments, treaties, the soft hum of translators parsing thousands of tongues at once. But on that day, the vast marble hall was steeped in a silence so thick it pressed upon every being present. Every eye was fixed upon the holographic projection flickering above the dais, an image of Earth's fleet rising from the edge of Sol. Like a storm of iron and light, the Council had summoned the humans to negotiate, to compel them to kneel before the will of the unified galaxy. They had expected resistance, perhaps outrage, but what came instead was something none had foreseen. Humanity had sent no diplomats, no envoys, no pleas. They had sent silence. That silence frightened them more than any fleet ever could. The Grand Speaker, an aged being from one of the core empires, finally broke the quiet. "They refuse communication," he rasped. His voice trembled with disbelief. "No envoy, no message, no attempt to bargain. They ignore every channel." Across the tiered seats, a dozen species shifted uncomfortably. A representative with crystalline skin hissed, "Perhaps their communication systems have failed." "They have not failed," replied another, her voice a low growl. "They are transmitting one signal only, a repeated sequence of numbers and coordinates. It is a warning beacon." The coordinates pointed to a barren sector along the galactic rim, a system no one had ever cared to visit. But now fleets from every major power were diverting there, desperate to understand the meaning. The humans had withdrawn completely from Council space after the failed sanctions. Their colonies had sealed themselves off, and their ships, sleek, angular, and silent, had begun vanishing from trade routes. At first, the Council thought it was weakness. They believed humanity had chosen isolation over war. They were wrong. Within months, outer colonies belonging to the Council began to fall silent. Patrol ships disappeared without distress calls. Mining stations were found abandoned, their reactors cold. Entire regions of space became dead zones, cut off by interference fields of unknown design. The Council gathered its admirals, its strategists, its best minds. Yet even they could not comprehend how a species, as young as humanity, barely, a century into interstellar travel, could dismantle entire defense grids without being seen. Fear began to seep through the cracks of arrogance. One admiral leaned forward in the chamber, his scaled hands tightening on the railing. "We should have destroyed them when we had the chance," he said, his tone cold and brittle. "Destroyed them?" The Grand Speaker echoed. "Do you not understand what that would have unleashed? You have seen what they do when cornered." And indeed they had. Humanity's history was a litany of defiance. Wars fought to the last man, civilizations rebuilt from ashes. They were creatures who thrived on adversity. Every empire that had underestimated them was now dust. The first warning had come years before during the border conflicts. When a Council task force had attempted to discipline a human colony for failing to pay tribute, the result had been catastrophic. The humans had destroyed 3 fleets in under a week, and when the Council demanded surrender, the humans replied with a single sentence broadcast across the stars: "We do not negotiate under threat." It was that same sentence that now echoed in the minds of every delegate present. On the far side of the chamber, the hologram shifted again, this time showing sensor readings from a reconnaissance probe near the Sol system. The image was grainy, static-filled, but unmistakable. Thousands of ships. They were not arranged in formation, not posturing for display. They were positioned with mathematical precision, layered in defensive and offensive arrays so complex that even the most advanced AI systems struggled to model them. Each ship bore the emblem of Earth, a simple blue sphere enclosed in a ring of light. "They are preparing for war," whispered one of the delegates. "No," said another, her voice shaking. "They are prepared already." The Grand Speaker stared at the image. His kind had ruled sectors for millennia, had seen empires rise and fall, but never before had he witnessed a species reject the very notion of negotiation. Even the most warlike civilizations eventually sought terms, but not humanity. "Not now. They refuse because they believe we have nothing to offer," he murmured. "They believe we have already lost." Outside the chamber, fleets were mobilizing. The Council's armada was the largest in known history. Tens of thousands of warships, each one powered by technology humanity could not possibly have replicated. And yet deep in the command cores of those fleets, doubt festered. Reports filtered in from captains who had encountered human drones that moved faster than sensors could track, human missiles that folded space itself to reach their targets, human code that infected enemy networks without detection. It was as though the species had evolved for war itself. In the weeks that followed, the tension rose to breaking point. Council propaganda declared that humanity would soon be crushed, that the Council's fleets would bring peace through force. But behind closed doors, the admirals were afraid. Then the signal came. It was broadcast across every channel, in every known language, using frequencies both ancient and new. The face that appeared was human, calm, expressionless, framed by the cold light of a command deck. "This is not a message of surrender," the human said. "You have violated our worlds, ignored our sovereignty, and treated our people as subjects. You have mistaken our restraint for weakness. That mistake ends now." The transmission ended. No demands, no negotiations, only certainty. Moments later, sensors across Council space detected simultaneous energy surges from human territories. The scale was incomprehensible, an entire star network pulsing with coordinated power. The first blow struck the outer rim fortress of the Council, a bastion thought to be impregnable. It vanished within seconds, reduced to fragments by weapons the Council had never encountered before. The second strike came without warning, slicing through supply lines and communication relays. Then the humans advanced. They moved like a tide of cold steel in silent fury. Their ships did not broadcast identification, did not respond to hails. They operated with terrifying precision, bypassing strongholds and destroying command centers. The Council's fleets, though vast, could not match their adaptability. Every tactic was countered before it began. Every ambush turned against the ambushers. The galaxy watched in horror as the Council's dominion began to collapse. World after world went dark. The proud empires that had once mocked Earth now whispered in fear of it. Refugees spoke of planets where human forces had landed, not to conquer, but to dismantle entire systems of oppression, leaving only silence and scorched ground behind. The Council met again in emergency session. The chamber was nearly empty now. Many seats stood vacant, their delegates dead or fled. The Grand Speaker stared at the flickering holomap, showing the advance of the human fleets. Red lines cut across the map like veins of fire, converging toward the galactic core. "They are not conquering," one surviving delegate said quietly. "They are purging." No one dared to respond. Outside, the fleet reports grew worse. Human vessels were appearing where no hyperlanes existed, striking deep within Council territory. Their technology defied every known law, and their silence continued. No communication, no negotiation, no mercy. The Grand Speaker looked around the room. "We must open talks, offer peace. Something." A trembling voice replied, "They do not wish for peace." The realization settled over them like ash. Humanity was not fighting for territory or vengeance. They were fighting to end the Council itself, to erase the very institution that had once claimed dominion over them. Weeks passed. The Council's fleets dwindled. Their capital worlds burned. The last stronghold, orbiting a dying star, prepared its final stand. Then came the signal once more. A single transmission from Earth. The same human appeared again, calm as before. "You asked for negotiation," the voice said. "You had centuries to speak as equals. You chose to speak as masters instead. That era is over. The Council ends today. The transmission cut off and the humans acted. What followed was not war, it was erasure." In coordinated precision, human fleets targeted the Council's command infrastructure, disabling every hub, every control node, every archive. Not to destroy knowledge, but to destroy authority. When the last Council beacon flickered out, silence spread through the galaxy once more. But this silence was different. It was not fear. It was awe. The survivors, scattered across the stars, looked toward Earth with a mixture of dread and reverence. Humanity did not demand subservience. They did not occupy. They simply withdrew, leaving the galaxy to contemplate the ruins of its arrogance. In the centuries that followed, the phrase, "they refused to negotiate," became legend. To some, it was a warning. To others, a reminder that the will of humankind could not be bent, not by empires, not by power, not by fear. And though the Council was gone, Whispers persisted across the void. That somewhere, deep in the shadows of the galactic rim, the humans still watched. Silent, patient, waiting for the next voice to rise against them. For the galaxy had learned a truth carved in the aftermath of their defiance. Humanity did not conquer for greed. They conquered only when forced, and when they did, they never negotiated.